Hey guys, I'm back, and today I've got a really fun video for you all. We are going to go ahead and look at the That Pedal Show $30,000 wet dry wet rig. If you're not familiar with That Pedal Show, what are you doing? You're on YouTube, go check them out. It's probably one of the best guitar related channels on YouTube. And they just recently posted on June 8th, which was yesterday, a ultimate guitar rig video where it's wet dry wet with 3 amps. It tallied about 30,000 pounds, they estimated, worth of guitar stuff to make those sounds. I did a quick tally of it, and it was about 33,000 US dollars, counting the guitars. Yes, $33,000. It's crazy, but his sounded incredible. It's very, just a super inspirational tone. So I actually already had on my video idea list to try and tackle wet dry wet with the HELIX. So I thought, what better one to try than this crazy high benchmark? So I thought I'd give it a go. Now, what is wet dry wet? Real quick. So wet dry wet is where you have 3 sound sources, 1 dry with no wet effects, no reverb, modulation, delay down the center, and then 2 outside that have wet effects. Either they can be the same effects or varied, like when what they did in their video with the 2 different delay types. So I wanted to try and emulate that, but to really get wet dry wet, you need 3 speakers. To get that feeling in the room, it's I bet it was incredible for them. But for most people, I mean, we're watching their videos or listening to their videos with headphones, which is 2 sound sources, or studio monitors, which are 2 sound sources left, right. So I wanted to try and get that similar recorded tone using the HELIX, and based all around people listening with 2 sound sources, speakers, headphones, whatever. I want to see if we can come close. So I kind of went to task yesterday, last night, building a patch that tried to emulate most of the equipment that they've used, and I took some liberties with a couple things, which I'll get into in a second. But the entire rig consists of HELIX, USB out to my computer. For guitars, to mimic Dan's Telly, this is my buddy Squire Telly that's been modified with Lawler pickups and other stuff like that. And then I've got my Gibson ES330 59 reissue, which is a budget version of the Collings i30 that Mick used in the video. So I've got kind of dumbed down versions of everything they used, plus the HELIX. So I thought, let's see if we can come close. Maybe I can, maybe I can't, but let's try it. So let's go ahead and look at the patch itself, and then I'll play through it, and you guys can let me know in the comments what you think. All right, so here are the patches. It's called Wet Dry Wet. I made 2 versions, one with IRs and one with stock cabs. The HELIX offers a lot of different cab options, but it does not have the cab and speaker combinations needed for this. You can get kind of close with the stock cabs, but I was able to get closer with IRs. So this is the patch itself. We're running just a basic compressor. For the fuzz they're using, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but it's got kind of an octave thing going on with it. So I'm using the Tioctava fuzz, and I'm also using a Timmy pedal, and then Minotaur, which is a Klon style, and then combining those different ways to get different sounds. I'll explain that more in a later point in the video. And then I'm running into a gain block here, which allows me to boost all of the amps, the input of them, to make them all drive harder. So it's kind of like just get more gain from all the amps and a little more volume. And then we have a split here. Right now I'm in Snapshot 2. I have different snapshots for everything. And Snapshot 2 is dry amp only. So it goes down here, and it goes to a spring reverb. And then this is mimicking the 2-rock they're using. So I'm using the Line 6 Litigator. It's the closest they've got. The 2-rock with the mid switch in is a little dumbly. So this is kind of, supposedly, I guess, I don't know. So this is the closest the HELIX has. This is how it's set right now. And then I'm running into a 2-rock style cab IR. I found this online. It was just a free download. I had no idea. It was on a forum. If you search it, you'll be able to find it. So I'm assuming this is with the G12M 65s, because it says 65 there. And it's using a Royer 121. They use a E906 mic on all the amps, but this is the closest I could find. And then that is pan center. And then go back up here. The rest of the setup, so that's the dry path, and the wet path is up here. It goes into the harmonic tremolo, which is basically trying to emulate the Super Trem, which is has a harmonic mode. And then it goes to the 70s chorus, which is the Boss CE1, the original Boss CE1 ensemble. And HELIX has that emulated, which is great. And then I'm running just a basic plate reverb for the 2 wet amps, very slight. And then that goes all the way down to here. And then I'm running a volume pedal here only for it, or it's only affecting the wet amps, so that I can actually control by moving it the amount of wet amp to dry amp I'm getting. And I can thus just mute the wet amps completely by dropping, going heel down. And then if we go up here, it's another gain boost, but this is just going to be pushing the wet amps. So if I just want the wet amps to drive harder or to make the delays a little louder, I hit that. And then it splits right here, left, right. So the left side of the wet dry setup, wet dry wet, ignore these. It goes here. So the left side is going to be mimicking the Hamstead amp with the Roland 201 Space Echo. So the HELIX has that emulated, called the Cosmos Echo. And then, like I said, this is supposed to be going after the Hamstead sound, which is, I guess, like a really beefy Vox AC30 from what I could gather online. And so I used the AC30 FAWN normal. And then for an IR, I'm using a Celestion G12H75 creamback. It uses a G12M65 creamback, I believe the Hamstead amp cab does. But I couldn't find anything similar that was a 112 that had that. So this is just an IR I had. Again, found it online, so they're out there. And it sounds pretty good, I think. But the actual tonal sounds of these 2 amps don't matter that much, because you're not hearing them as clearly as you would be the main amp. And then that's panned hard left. And then going on the hard right side, that's going to be the Benson Echo Rec, which is basically like a tape echo with multiple heads, but they only used one head in the majority of the video. So it's just like a regular tape. I mean, it's not, but the closest to the HELIX is the transistor tape. And then for the Vox AC30, Dan doesn't use the top boost side, it seems like. He doesn't like that. So I used the AC30 FAWN again, but I used the bright to make it a little chimier. And then I ran that into a 212 Bogner cab with silver speakers. So his amp, I'm pretty sure, has silver speakers in it as well. And then this is the closest I had to a cab with that. And then again, that's panned hard right. So that's the patch itself. Now let's go ahead and run over to the stock cab version. Now this is the same thing, just the stock cabs. So for the 2-rock, same amp, but then I used the 412 greenback, the G12M625, yeah, G12M25 speaker. A creamback speaker is just like a higher powered greenback. So the HELIX doesn't have a lot of options for 212s with that, basically just the matchless, and I didn't really like the way it sounded. The 212 Interstate is V30s, so that doesn't sound right either. So I prefer the sound of the greenback. 412, I had a little more low end, which you hear in the 2-rock. And then for the Hamstead amp, I went with the matchless with the greenback, which again is like a lower powered version of the creamback, so it's relatively close. And all of these use the same mic, which is the E409, which is the predecessor to the mic they use, which is the E906. And then for the Vox AC30, I went with the Bluebell 212. I tried the Silver Bell, and I didn't like it as much. It was a little too fizzy for me with the overdrives. But everything else is exactly the same. So yeah, let's go back to the IR version, because I think it sounds a little better. And I'll include in the description a link to download the patch so you guys can check it out yourselves. And yeah, let's go ahead and listen to the different tones. So we'll start out with the dry tone, and then we'll move on to the other amps. So right now, this is basically going after the 2-rock sound. I'm using the Telly I had in the intro. Now this is the Hamstead or AC30 FAWN. And then this is the vintage AC30. The one Dan uses, the 61, I believe it is. Now we will go back to the Hamstead or the AC30 FAWN with the Roland Space Echo on. And it should be obvious, but everything is pan center for this part. And now we're over to the AC30 with the Benson Echo Rec, or in this case, the tape delay. Okay, now we'll do both amps that are wet only, so no dry amp, and they'll be panned left and right. So you'll be able to hear the space echo, which is the da 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 going on one side in one ear, and then just the consistent of the tape echo on the other ear. So this will sound like a jumbled mess playing together, but I'll just play something here. And then again, let's go back to the dry amp on its own. Now let's combine them all together. So this will be the dry amp, the Litigator, which is matching the 2-rock, will be center, and then the other 2 amps will be panned, hard pan left and right. This is all 3 together. I love that sound. So, you know, whether we're able to get spot on identical to the $30,000 setup from the other video, I'm not sure. Maybe if I spend enough time on it, I could get closer. But within a day, like I said, the as of shooting right now, today's Saturday. Yesterday was the day the video aired. So after work, I started working on this patch. So, you know, in basically less than a day's time, I've gotten that tone. I think it sounds really good. I wasn't sure how good it was going to sound. I thought, because there is definitely a difference between having 3 sound sources recorded and then put into a DAW and mixed. I think there is, because I feel like they get more stereo separation, and it does sound bigger in their recording than this. And you know, I'm not sure why exactly, but it does seem like there's a difference between having 3 separate sources all going into the DAW and pans independent of each other versus having everything kind of together with 2 outputs only. I think there is a difference there, but I think it sounds really good. The individual amp tones themselves sound, I think, great. All definitely kind of complement each other and work well with each other. And then the delays sound awesome. I've never thought about using 2 different delays on both ears, and I've always used tap tempo, and I've always used, you know, setting the notes to like a quarter or dotted eighth or whatever. I've never tried just kind of picking a general delay time and just rolling with it. So I tried to match it fairly close to what they had going, and then just kind of playing along with it. But you know, it is interesting because those older units, delay units, are limited on what delay time they can do. I think that Echo Rec can only do something like 300 and something milliseconds, which is nothing. So, you know, they're just nowhere near as versatile as today's equipment, but they sound great. There's definitely something special about all those old delay units and all of that. And I'm really glad that the HELIX has the Space Echo. I've never actually used it before, to be honest. Too many controls for a delay. I just like the tape, the Adriatic, and the mod chorus. Those are my favorites. I use those all the time. I've never touched a Space Echo. There's a lot going on. I don't know what all the controls do, but I love that kind of multi-head, kind of da-da-da-da-da kind of thing. And then that going on one side, plus the consistent dun, 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 dun of the other delay, it sounds, in the room, it sounds fantastic. I can't even imagine how good it sounded in their room with, you know, the full almighty holy grail setup they had. So let's go ahead and try some more tones, try some different overdrive, some fuzz, and just screw around and see what sounds we can get. Okay. Alright, so let's check out the chorus now. I've got a gain boost on in front of all the amps. This is the dry tone. Now the chorus. So one thing I noticed is that they don't really get jumps in volume of the delays when they're hitting the front of the amps harder. I'm not really sure why that is. I've experienced it with real amps, and the HELIX, it definitely does that. So with running the gain boost in front of all the amps, it's pushing all the amps harder, making them compress more, making the delays louder. So what I can do is take the volume pedal here and just rock it back a little bit. I'll give you an actual number here. So right now it's at 87%, and so that should bring down the wet amp levels a little bit, and so it should sound a little clearer. That sounds great. That seems just about right. Now let's go over to the harmonic tremolo and keep everything else the same. Turn off the chorus. This is the trem. Now let's bring the wet level, the amps all the way to 100. So get a little more pronounced effect with the tremolo that way, but the delays are still pretty strong. I'll just stab it real quick so you can hear. It'll be a mess if I try and do any lead, so let me drop the volume down back to about 82% there, and I'll try something. Now let me raise all the way up. I think that was too much for the trem. I think it needs to be higher. Sounds killer to me. All right, so now I switched over to the kind of a fuzz snapshot I set up. Nothing changed apart from having two pedals on together at the same time. That's why I use a snapshot. So I can't pronounce the name of the fuzz they use. It's from the 60s, early 60s. But it sounded to me like it had kind of an octave sputtery thing going on. I couldn't really find anything in the Helix that was similar that I was able to get close with. Also, a lot of the options weren't there because of the DSP usage. There wasn't enough DSP to try all the options, but I really love the Tioctava fuzz that they have in the Helix, but the high end is just too much. The octave is a little piercing for me. So what I did is I stacked it with the Timmy pedal, which has a fantastic EQ section. So I was able to use the high cut, the treble cut, to kind of cut some of those really piercing highs. And again, this is all 3 amps together, so let's just jam around with it. It's got that same kind of similar, like broken bit kind of sound when you hit multiple notes together, like when Mick was doing it. Tons of dissonance. But if you don't do that, it sounds really, really cool. I really like it, actually. I think it sounds awesome. It's just a huge sound, at least where I'm sitting right now. Yeah, really aggressive. It has that sputtery top end, but it's not blowing my head off. Hopefully it sounds good in YouTube compressed land, but yeah, I'm really digging it. Kind of more shoegazy, like really, really out there, really big sound, a lot going on. You know, it's not meant to be a clear singing, you know, lead line kind of tone. All right, let's try something else. Let's try a little more lead stuff with the chorus one. So I've got the Timmy and the all gain boost on. I dropped the mix levels of the delays just a touch. This is what it sounds like. It's massive. Let's try something ridiculous with it. That sounds crazy. That sounds super cool though. Let's go keep the same drive settings. We'll switch over to the harmonic tremolo now. Yeah, let's try something. I almost forgot to do something with this guitar. So this is my Gibson ES330. It's serving as the quote-unquote budget version of the Collins i30 that Mick used in the video. I decided to change the delay settings to mimic what they did later in the video, where they have a slapback on one side and the multi-head kind of swell thing going on the other side. So I used the space echo for the multi-head swell thing, and then the tape echo for the slapback. They did the opposite in the video, but because the HELIX does not have an echo rec model in it, I don't really have an option to do as they did. So real quick, this is the dry tone So this is the Litigator 2-rock kind of side. And then this is the Hamstead side with the Space Echo with the multi-head delay. So you can hear it just like super diffuse, kind of reverby. Basically, I just used all 3 playback heads, dropped the tone, the treble, control to 0, the FB tone to 0, dropped the headroom to its lowest setting, and dropped the repeats a little bit. So it's just kind of dark and kind of the delays just diffuse into each other basically. And then this is the Slapback AC30 with the tape delay. So you notice the mix is pretty high. Way too high to use on its own, but then when you combine all 3 amps together, it sounds really great. So yeah, sounds super cool. So let's try some little excerpts and see how it sounds. So now I've got the Timmy and the all gain boost stacked together, so it's just tons and tons of gain with the P90s especially, and then I've also got the chorus on, but I dropped the mix down to 25%, so it's kind of a subtle thing going on. So let's hear how that sounds. Make sure we're recording. I hope it sounds good when it's recorded and, you know, through YouTube and all that, because it just sounds so cool in the room. Over the top, of course, it's crazy, it's, you know, whatever, but it just sounds so cool. So yeah, there you go. I think that just about does it. Let me know what you think. I definitely will not say that it sounds just like theirs. I won't even say it sounds as good as theirs, but I don't think you could say it sounds bad. It sounds good. It sounds really good. In fact, you know, I think you could look at it more as less as trying to copy them and more as this is a really cool way to get some really unique giant sounds, especially if you're the only guitarist in the band. You can get away with so much more. Or, you know, there's another guy taking the, like, more out there, you know, straight ahead rhythm duties, and you can kind of shoegaze or do whatever else. I think this kind of wet, dry, wet setup is really cool, especially if you can have 3 different speakers. But if you can't, I think it just sounds awesome having 2 delays on each side, separated, hard panned, have a clear dry amp down the middle. Just kind of gives a different flavor. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. I've got a lot more planned. I apologize for the hiatus between this video and my last one. I was asked to do a last minute concert, and you know, in 2 weeks I had to memorize basically 20 songs to play, so I just had a lot going on and just kind of put all my energy towards that. But I've got nothing else going on this month, so I plan on doing more videos. Please let me know if you guys have any ideas of anything you'd like me to cover. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to That Pedal Show for, you know, 1, posting the video, and 2, letting me kind of use some of their stuff as an example. Again, go check out their video. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.